Okay, so this is the video for how to do 6.20. It focuses on character development. That is our main strategy goal. And so we are going to use a plot map and really focus in on how the character acts before and after the climax of the story and how they have developed through that hardship in that story. Once you have read the brief summary, this book is indeed about a young boy and his father who are forced to leave their home. It's no longer safe there, and the library, which is so meaningful to his father, is blown up, and he still has a book about their culture, about the people, and he explains to his son how important this is, that he still has this. So they end up traveling with their people. They are walking on foot to leave this place, and they have packed a suitcase of their things, and they have put this book into like a giant safe box. They call it the treasure box, and they are bringing this as well. Along the way, the father becomes very sick. He becomes ill. He is unable to carry this box anymore, and the father passes away. And right in that moment, the son decides that he needs to see this book through. He needs to carry this book and choose that instead of the suitcase. So he sets down his suitcase with all of his other belongings, and he brings this book in the safe box along his way. He continues traveling, and at one point he realizes that he can't carry it anymore. It is just too heavy, so he buries it by this beautiful tree. And the rest of the book, he grows up in this new town by himself, in this new culture that he has no idea about. And when he is a grown man, he goes back and he finds this book, and he brings this book back to his old original town, and puts it in the new library, which is really special. So we are kind of going to talk about the whole book as a text. We're going to talk about the whole model and the plot of this book. And so first what you're going to do, mine has a lot of writing on it, so you can ignore that right now. But you're going to want to use this. Mine's very, very small as a model, but you're going to want to do this on the board if you're not going to erase it, or my preference would be a giant poster board, because there's a lot of writing that goes into it, and you don't want your kids to get confused. So you're going to just want to go ahead, draw your plot mountain right here. We know that in your plot mountain, this is the beginning, this is the climax up at the top of the mountain, and then this is the end. So that's the first thing that you're going to want to do. I tend to, when I am teaching the plot map, we kind of go over it, what kind of words we use at the beginning. We'll use words like first, then, after. We just kind of talk about the vocabulary that you're going to use, because that can help them in their writing as well. And so next we went through, we talked about the beginning of the book is the town is in flames and the library burns down. The dad has the book at home. Next, the dad puts the story in a lockbox, and they are forced to leave their home, which moves on to the next part, traveling the town by town, and the dad becomes sick. And after deliberating with our group, we decided that the climax of the book is really when Peter's dad passes away and Peter chooses to bring this book instead of the suitcase. We said that this was the climax of the book because this is when the son truly realized how important this book about his culture and his people is, and he left all of his other possessions and went to carry the book instead. So we said that that's the climax of the story. So we hit our climax of the story right here, and then we start to go down our mountain. We talk about how the book becomes very heavy. He buries it next to a tree. The boy grows up in a new town. When he is older, he goes and digs up the book and explains the importance of it. And then the end of the book, the resolution, is when the book is in the new library in the boy's original town to be read and loved. It's really important that when you are teaching this with your kids, you're talking about the resolution, the climax, the good vocabulary words that you want them to model. Once you have gone through with your students and kind of decided this timeline of the plot of the story, you are going to move on to the next thing, and that is when we talk about the character's feelings. I decided to put it in 3 different colors just because that helps me to color code it. And in the beginning, we kind of talk about how he's a little confused about why this book isn't so important to his dad. He doesn't really understand. He's so young, he doesn't get it. And then he becomes scared when he is traveling to his new home, which rightfully so. And then we said nervous to have to pick everything up and leave to a brand new place. So that is kind of how he's feeling as they are starting to travel. After the climax, we said that he feels, horribly sad about his dad. I couldn't read my own handwriting. At that part, he is feeling horribly sad about his dad. He is feeling awful. His dad just passed away. It's so horrible and sad. So that is how we thought that maybe we were inferring how he would be feeling. But we also said at the same time he is brave and understands the importance of the book now. So we went from him being very confused about the importance, why everybody needs to know about his culture and his people. We're kind of confused about that, to we now understand and we are going to be brave and we are going to carry that book instead of his other belongings. So that is a really big thing to highlight with your students, the difference between these two. So then we kind of inferred that he might feel misunderstood about growing up in a new place. He might feel a little bit lonely. We said that he is still pretty brave because he is, whether he knows it or not, he is going to this new town and he is still living his life and he is persevering down here and he is continuing on after losing his father. So those are just some good words that we use to describe them. Make sure to try and use those tier 3, tier 2 words instead of just your tier 1 words. So, and then at the resolution, we said that he feels as if his father's wish was fulfilled. So we said that this, at the end, we feel like his father's wish was fulfilled because he brings this book about his culture and his people, and they place it into the new library that was built over the one that was originally burned down. So this is what your plot map will look like at the end. And basically, this is just a way to, we write down everything that's going on in the story, and then you can infer how his character develops through his feelings and actions off to the side, which is also highlighted. So you're going to want to give your students some prompts while you're going through this. They might find it confusing, but you're really going to want to talk about the point where there is the conflict. That is such a big thing to look at. Okay, there's the climax, there's the conflict that happens. You're going to want to talk about how the character responds to this, because that is going to be where we see the most growth of the character. So it's really, really important to talk about how he responds to this. We talk about where might the character encounter the problem, what was the character like before this, what's the character like after. Again, like I said, very important to talk about. And you're going to want to make sure to describe the character on both sides, so before, middle, and after. And you're going to want to talk about how does this point of conflict show us a new side to this character. So what did we find over here after this conflict? It's really important because those are all going to be how we describe that the character grows. So that is what we are going to be doing in the teach section, just to warm their brains up before they move on to the timeline.